Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with another initial reaction for Infinity N5. This time Qapu Khalqi, and we have a very special guest from the Loss of Lieutenant crew. It's Nick.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Nick. I'm slowly collecting all of the Loss of Lieutenant hosts. I think it's just Jordan left now. But tell us a bit about your experience and history with Qapu Khalqi.
So I played a fair bit of Hawk in N4. Um, when I started back up, came in with Brahma and dabbled a fair bit in QK throughout the edition. Never really settled in on it because, well, it was QK in N4, and I'm sure we will discuss that soon.
Yeah, no, that's more than fair enough. I picked up QK for a little while in one of the slow grow
Mm.
periods we had, just because they looked sort of funky. But yeah, I can understand why you wouldn't gravitate towards them for a whole season or anything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, like they were fun for certain lists and certain missions, but yeah, I never really quite they never quite felt complete in N4.
Mm, yeah, one of the armies you very much felt kind of older design sensibilities really carrying
Oh,
over.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and not quite gelling with the addition in a way that you see some armies now being sort of very N4 and N5 in a way.
Yes. And I think Qapu Khalqi made the transition pretty well because one
Mm,
of its big problems in N4, I think, was just the points weren't balanced well in N4 for medium infantry,
mm.
and that like kind of elite but not quite heavies. And in N5, they're balanced a bit better. So I feel like in N5, Qapu Khalqi can make more complete lists and not be point starved like they felt in N4.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got a lot of medium and even some high quality heavy infantry in Capu Khalqi, where
Yeah.
N5 really was skewed to either playing the lightest of light or the heaviest of heavy to really maximize those points.
Yes. Yeah. And now with uh, a general points decrease in N5, I think they can fit in, or Kalpakaki could fit in the toys that they wanted to fit in, but
Mm.
couldn't just because everything was a bit more expensive than it performed.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely feel that. Well,
Mm.
before we go into Infinity Army, we might take a look at Capu Khalqi a bit more generally. So, what defines Capu Khalqi? For me, I've got a mix of high quality Haqqislam units and mercenary units which provide unique vectors of attack, very flexible link teams, and two Harris teams really stands out to me. But do you think, I mean, with the way duos are kind of going, how do you think these two Harris teams are going to shake out? Are they still the big advantage they used to be?
Maybe not quite as much, but being able to put on two Harris teams and have that like ablative model
Mm,
to keep the burst bonus. So if one model goes down, you've still got two models left in the link
mm.
and still get the duo bonus.
Yeah, no, that's a very
Uh,
good point. Very nice.
it also means that you don't have like you could have your duo that you want and still attach a specialist. It gives you more flexibility than just working with pure duos.
Yeah, that's true. You can get sort of jammed up if you've got, your big gun piece, maybe your secondary piece with smoke, but then you kind of run out of a
Mhm.
button presser. Or if you just,
Well,
strapping like a beast hunter to the end of something.
yes. Plus, it also means that you can have the gunfighter you want, a model to make it a level two link,
Mm.
and still have that opening to put in the support model, even if it doesn't contribute to purity.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the double Harris, even though the bonuses for the Harris aren't necessarily the most important thing anymore. I agree with you that slot provides quite a lot of utility, and
Mhm.
I've found in list building for other lists, getting kind of jammed up when you've got your few duos and you want to tack extra models on to several of them, sort of deciding where's that Harris slot actually going to get spent. So it's
Yes.
it's more
Yeah.
impactful than you might think at first having that double Harris.
Mhm.
So, in terms of weaknesses defining QK, I've got a lack of decisive gunfighters, and your list construction can tend towards fragility, where you're, at the end of the day, still using a lot of one wound models with not a whole lot of armor. What do you think about these sort of drawbacks
I
of QK?
definitely agree with the fragility.
Mm.
I think QK has a bit more flexibility in N5 with the points reduction, so stuff like Janissaries to and the I'm blanking on the name. The
Azrael?
no, the Burkhak or
Oh, yeah.
Bur
Bertuk?
Burkhut
Burkhut, yeah.
um to build more wounds into their list
Mm.
without losing models.
Mm.
But I would kind of disagree with the lack of gunfighters at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
not because QK got better, but because the ceiling on gunfighters has fallen.
Yeah, that's very true.
With the changes to link teams and no longer being able to very easily hit that +3 ballistic skill,
Yeah.
and most link teams not really bothering to hit the +1 anymore.
Yeah, that's very
Uh,
true.
a BS-13 gunfighter is a good gunfighter now.
Mm.
It can compete. It may not be the best in all situations, but it usually can, with some board positioning or a little extra visual support, find a way to make it a favorable gunfight even at BS-13.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I guess when I think of decisive gunfighter, you've got good ways to, score hits on units with some units like say
Mm-hmm.
the Jan Bazan or
Mm-hmm.
even yeah, like a Jan Bazan. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's true the floor's fallen a bit in terms of shooting. I think a
Mm-hmm.
BS-13 model with some good positioning, it's fantastic, but you can't just be a Pano, rest on your loins and sort of just rock up the midfield with
Oh,
some kind
absolutely
of gun
not.
piece. Um,
No.
so I guess for me there is still a lack of order efficiency there. And sorry, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really finish my thought with the Jambazan. You can, with the Jambazan, you can score hits with them quite
Yeah.
easily through smoke, but
Mm-hmm.
actually killing something if it has a lot of armor or multi wounds can be a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
struggle.
Okay. Yeah, fair. I would agree with that.
All right, so we discussed a little bit about QK and N4.
Mm-hmm.
They suffered from the link team changes as everyone did.
Mm-hmm.
They were a generally lower tier faction through the addition. They got a pretty
That's
nice boost.
light.
Yeah, I'm actually I was a bit of a QK tragic. I was a bit
Mhm.
higher on them than most people, I think, but I think I was coming straight from military orders, so any pitcher access was absolute money at that point.
Rude.
Yeah. They got a pretty nice boost with the reinforcements units, but that didn't really elevate their position an incredible amount.
I think it breathed life back into them at the end of N4,
Mm.
but there wasn't enough N4 left to really play around with the new units.
Mm.
And they had too much kind of baggage for being known as like tied for the worst faction in the game in N4
Mm.
that regardless of the new units they got, most people weren't going to give them another look.
Yeah.
But with an addition change, now everything is open again.
Yeah, definitely. I think a couple of the reinforcements units, their link options were weirdly restrictive as well, like the Korsan. Uh, and that's sort of opening up a bit more in N5 now as well. So
Yes.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think there's definitely more room.
the link options have improved quite a bit, along with some new profiles
Yeah,
to make the links better in N5.
absolutely. All right, well, shall we take a look at the new Qapu Khalqi in the Army Builder?
Sounds good.
All right, folks, and here we are in Infinity Army Builder with the new and improved Qapu Khalqi. We've got the Fireteam's chart up here, and we've got our core, we've got our two Harrises as we discussed, and then unlimited Fireteam duo. First up, we've got the Gulam Fireteam, which can Haris and core. You can take Gulams, Alguacils, Odalisques, and Sekban, and the first thing that stands out to me from this is that you've lost the wildcard status of the Sekban. What do you think about that, Nick?
That's a fairly common theme throughout the entire Fireteam chart for
Hmm.
N5. Qapu Khalqi used to have some of the most pliable and wildcardy, uh, well keyworded fire teams in the game, and that has been drawn back almost entirely.
Hmm.
We really won't see much in the way of keywords until we get down to the wild cards.
Yeah, that's very true. I think, I've seen most factions have a wild card that sort of got peeled back. I know for me in Corregidor, the Wildcat lost wild card.
Hmm.
Tunguska, the Grenzer lost wild card. So we are seeing a bit of stepping back in terms of some wild cards. But when you really look at what this affects, it's really just keeping it off of the Druze team because the
Hmm.
Sekban's showing up everywhere else. So that's interesting in the Druze respect, but we might get to them later. Do you have any
Hmm.
notes on this Gulam fire team? We've seen sort of
Um,
we've seen sort of the
the
big line troop core lose a bit of popularity. Where do you think this fits in?
so I think Gulams still make good like Firebase cores.
Hmm.
This is another way that you could also use the Harries.
Hmm.
Uh, with Gulams, they're still just as utilitarian. Yes, the shotguns lost their templates, but you can still like take your Gulam lieutenant with a +1 command token for a free speedball. You can pop in the NCO grenade launcher. You can pop in a hacker or doctor, and they can just kind of sit back there.
Hmm.
The Sekban, I think, is still quite good in
Hmm.
this because while like in Rama you have your Zayadin to pop in there, there's the Sekban I think pops in really nicely in QK to the core. If you put it up to a 5 core, now it'll only be level 4, like so 4 Gulams and a
Hmm.
Sekban. But when we get to the Sekban, it's got a really nice cheap HRL profile
Oh, it's
at
incredibly
BS13,
cheap. Yeah, it's amazing.
and you've got the 4 level 4 bonus that puts it up to a BS14,
Hmm.
and that Fireteam I believe comes in at under 80 points.
Yeah, no, I mean
And you can
that's
still
really
have
nice.
like it's a place for your lieutenant, it's a place for your random backfield specialists for the end of the game if you need
Hmm.
them. Even though it doesn't hit level 5, I think it's still worthwhile if you want that like Firebase core in QK.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we know that the Gulams, one of the best line troops, just in terms of the toolbox they can bring.
Yeah.
You've also got, some decent weapons that the Hafsa can pick up to put, a decent numbered shot in that fire team, maybe as a surprise ARO piece. But yeah, I do like the Sekban just as a very cheap HRL you can block in there. I could
Yeah.
I could see a Harris of like the Sekban HRL Gulam
Hmm.
grenade launcher and then a Gulam hacker. That's an
Hmm.
incredibly useful little Harris that can run up to objectives, provide smoke. A lot of utility in there.
Yeah, and you still have the 2 Gulams to make it a level 2 and get the special die in the Sekban.
Mm. Yeah, I like it quite a bit. We might move on to now the Qapu Khalqi fire teams, where we've
Hmm.
got Odalisques, Sekban, who both have the Qapu Khalqi tag, John Bazan, Azrael, and these are just what you need. You just need one of these to form the team, and then the Rafiq is the one sort of outlier unit on here. So
Hmm.
this is a bit of a transformation from what we used to see with the Qapu Khalqi fire teams, where they've just sort of thrown everything in one barrel. A few of these used to be quite separate, but what do you think about this new sort of very modular fire team base?
It feels like they took a bunch of individual fire teams and just put them into one and didn't give anyone keywords.
Yeah.
So it feels like a way to save space
mm.
in the fire team's chart.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. I can't really see myself mixing and matching an incredible amount between these teams.
No.
Uh, the Azrael, quite a good unit. I don't know how often you're going to be double pumping that burst bonus. John Bazan, same there. Um,
Well, they also have different battlefield positions. Like
yeah.
Odalisques and Sekban, yeah, can want to be in a similar position on the battlefield.
Mm,
Janspazan and Azrael do not want to be in the same place on the battlefield.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's not the same place that the Odalisques and Sekban want to be. So uh, I don't see these being mixed and matched that much because
Mm,
I don't know why they would want to be in the same fire team.
yeah. Yeah. It's a
That said,
yeah.
Did Jansban fire teams? Excellent.
Yeah.
Azrael fire teams, a lot of potential. Sekban and Odalisques, we'll look into their profiles.
Yeah. It's the sort of spent so much time asking whether you could, you didn't think about whether you should. If you want to make a
Yeah.
core out of 5 random Qapu Khalqi Fireteam units, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Look, it's a 5-member core with level 0 bonuses.
Alright, well we might move to the Zuru fire teams, which this is the post fixed version.
Uh,
Which is a bit of a
it
shame.
lasted long enough that I was really getting my hopes up that maybe it was like a weird Qapu Khalqi thing. But yeah.
Alas.
So for those who don't know, I'd say about 2 weeks ago, there was a an update that did not make any announcements. The fire team used to be Haris and Core, and then they changed it to Duo.
Boo.
So looking at what goes into the fire team, it is absolutely a Duo fire team chart. I really would have liked to see them keep Haris in it.
Yeah, no, it would have definitely been interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, look, maybe you just jam sort of 2 Hafsas in there or something to make it, to push it up to a Haris.
The problem with it being a core was you could take one of your tags and then put 4 wildcard Hafsas in it and make it a level 4 fire team with a tag in it.
Yeah.
And that felt way too good to be true.
I mean, look, mind you, your tags aren't exactly setting the world on fire, and you would have to, I don't know, I think positioning all those little Hafsa as you attempt to move up the field would be kind of a puzzle in its own, but yeah, I can see why they decided not to go that direction.
Yeah.
Alright, and then we've got the Janissary's fire team, which are Haris and Coring. In another army, maybe we'd see a duo option, but we're getting 2 Haris teams. It's not an incredible amount of pressure on the fire team slots. And you can take 5 Janissaries, Wild Bill, an Odalisque, and a Sekban. What do you think about the Janissaries team?
I think the Janissaries are going to be good at N5. They got little buffs, some that aren't. Well, okay, BS attack -3 is not a little buff, and their points came down enough so that I think they fit in a nice place where if you want to build a full core fire team of Janissaries, you can. Will you have to build an army around it? Yes. But most armies, if they want to take a full core of heavies, will have to build their army around it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Janissaries in N4 were always a unit that really stood out just because, they had a level of quality that didn't really feel natural for Haqqislam or Qapu Khalqi just in the way that they were built as sort of, BS 14, Fizz 14, Whip 14. That's an Aleph or combined army stat line. But their points cost could never really shirk it. So to me, them going down in points while also gaining BS attack -3, I think I think they could potentially become pretty defining. I mean, even running a little Harris of like Janissary HMG missile launcher and Hafsa forward observer, pretty nice.
Yes. So, like in Rama, you can build a Janissary core by taking in the
Horlax, right?
The Horlax to make it a little bit cheaper, whereas in Qapu Khalqi, you can make it cheaper by taking Hafsas, which count toward purity with Janissaries.
Yeah.
So if you want, you could take that, like we take the Haris of Janissaries, but then toss 2 Hafs in there to make it up to a pure core.
Oh, brutal.
And
BS 15.
BS 15 with 6 cents.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And like don't stop at 2, or don't stop at 1 Swick weapon in that. Definitely take 2 in that.
Yeah, no, very, very cool potential with the Janissary fire teams.
Yeah.
All right, next up, the Druze Baram fire teams. You can take up to 5 Druze and Arslan, and you've got a Jiro, Harris, and a core option. These, to me, used to be a pretty defining reason to sort of engage in Qapu Khalqi, is because you did have these Druze pitchers. Where do you think this kind of team fits in now that you can't really slam a Sekban in there to cover that, decent Swick weapon in the team.
You have unlimited duos. You can take a grunt, whatever you want, Druze, and a hacker with pictures, and you have linked pictures. You don't need to build up a full link. You can just take a free duo.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's your linked pictures.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've seen Druze lists where people just take a Druze killer hacker and a Druze hacker, just duo them. You've got X-Visor pictures, which are, frankly ridiculous. And yeah, you don't really care that you've got these two units in sort of the same space. Their reach is so far that it's just such an efficient duo and slot usage that, yeah, you don't really care.
Yeah. I think beyond that, I don't really play much with Druze. And you've done an episode on the Druze, so can probably pull in some information from that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I played quite a bit with the Druze in N4. I'd usually take a killer hacker and put a Burtuk. I'd go like killer hacker, a Burtuk light rocket launcher, and then something else that wanted to move up the field. I could see myself maybe stapling two Burkuts to a Druze, maybe one of the submachine gun ones, and one of the light rocket launcher moving up the field, getting some really nasty angles with that picture. I think, they're not as easy as they used to be in terms of fitting them in a list, but they're still probably pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and you don't need nearly as many to get a better bonus out of them.
No, absolutely not. That's a very good point. Yep. Next up, we got the Kaplan's Fireteam, where you need a Kaplan, and you can take Wild Bill, Odalisques, and a Sekban. Did you ever really mess around with the Kaplans at all?
No, and even when going through the units for this episode, I don't know where they fit in the army.
Yeah, I've played a bit with them in Whiteco, where the 20-point heavy rocket launcher just sits in a nice spot, but having the Sekban, I think they just get pushed out, unfortunately.
Well, they're still, the MIM is nice. They're still 1 vitality, 2 armor. They put a lot of survivability into that MIM -3.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in terms of the specialist profiles, you're not hurting for really high-quality specialists. So
no,
yeah,
in other armies, a Whip 14 specialist would be great. In any Hawk list, a Whip 14 specialist is your starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, in Whiteco, it's a Kaplan's your only linkable Whip 14 Doctor, or just linkable Doctor, period. Not the case in any Haqqislam army.
No.
Yeah, so probably just a case of the environment sort of pushing them out.
Yeah, I don't think they've really been up. Well, okay, we'll get to when they get their profile.
Yeah. All right, now we get to the wild cards, which is when things get really funky. We've got maximum of 4, so that can be basically a whole team on their own, Hafza, with the Gulam, Odalisques, Sekban, and Janissary tag. I mean, this is crazy, right?
This is one of the defining features of QK, is that you have Hafzas, and you can slot them in, hollow mask them as whatever the unit you slotted them into, and they still count as purity. There is one problem that I see with them at the moment, and it's why I think the QK fire team, or the Qapu Khalqi fire team, is just a bunch of individual fire teams that are happen to be under the same label. Because the Odalisques and the Sekban have the Qapu Khalqi keyword. The Hafza have the Odalisques and Sekban keyword, which means that if you want to build a fire team of Odalisques and Sekban that count as QK, if you put a Hafza in there, it only counts as a Sekban or an Odalisque, and you end up with these weird, what combination of keywords
I have
makes
3
the highest
duo
number?
bonuses in this Haris.
Yeah. Where you've got all these models that keyword link with each other, but there's failure to overlap.
Yeah.
So if you want to toss Hafs in there, it has to either be a Sekban or an Odalisque fire team. if you want to combine them, you rule out the ability to put Hafsas in there.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a weird one. I mean, look, I wouldn't. I mean, yeah, look, it's a very weird one. I don't know if you'd want to be building that high into Sekban or Odalisques in the first place. I think they're probably just better running around. Even if you could, I don't know if you would, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's something CB felt, so they didn't really feel the need to facilitate that overlapping. But look,
I think it could also be an oversight.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But even if it is an oversight, I don't know if it's something you would do if you had the ability to, I guess.
Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Gulam tag is really nice. They've got pretty low weight fire teams. Hafsas provide an extra BS for some Swick weapons, which is really nice. Having the Sekban be, just one available in most fire teams, the Sekban tag's pretty nice to make something low weight there as well, especially if you put a Hafsa in with a Gulam and a Sekban, then no matter what unit dies in that team except for the Hafsa, you're keeping that duo bonus, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I think the most important tag on the Hafsa is the Janissary one.
Oh, by far. Absolutely.
Because that just straight up reduces the point cost
half the
of
cost
building
of
a Janissary link.
Yeah, no, it's pretty insane. Going from, high 30s to 15 points on how much you're paying to get your tag. It's a massive difference.
Yeah.
Alright, then we've got 2 Burkhuts with the Sekban tag. I'm not really sure how far the Sekban tag really goes for the Burkhut, but I quite like the Burkhuts as wildcard units. They've got a lot of capability in them. Another fairly lightweight, semi-2-wound model, which contributes to a bit of your resilience. I think it's a great wildcard.
I think the Sekban tag is okay. It exists.
Yeah.
But I think the more important part is that there's 0 to 2 wildcards.
Yeah.
Which means that you can slap them in on a single model and make a Haris that's level 2. So you could have an Azrael.
Yeah.
Use that to form the basis of a Haris, and then slap 2 Burkhut in with it, and now it's level 2 Haris.
Yeah, I mean, I like slapping 2 Burkhut on a Druze. I'd also like slapping 2 Burkhut on a Gulam, just with all the utility that exists there. There's a lot to do with 2 Burkhut. We've got the Korsan. Really nice to see it be a wild card. Before it was only available in the Kaplan team, which was just a really odd space for it. So and I think, you were sort of mentioning with the Haris teams, you can slap a, suicide model on the end of that. I think the Korsan's really good for that, to run it off.
The Korsan, I think, is going to see play now.
Oh, absolutely.
In N4, partly it was too late in the edition, and the profiles were just a little awkward and slightly too expensive. But, when we get to the profiles, the Korsan is better. And being a wild card to everything that... Every profile of the Corsans is a wild card except for the alternative deployment ones.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Korsan was a good unit in N4, but it was just too awkward to fit in. But I agree, I do like how they've reworked some of the actual profiles with the Korsan as well. And I think you're right, you're going to be seeing a lot more of these guys.
Yeah.
Layla Sharif getting the Gulam tag, I mean, that's something she's had in most armies. But, it's nice to sort of, slap her onto something with the Gulam, maybe put the Sekban on the end of that. If the Sekban dies, she's still got a duo bonus with that Shock Marksman.
Yeah, and honestly, she's loads better. She went from being... Okay, sorry, getting ahead of ourselves. She went from being like, well, I'd like a killer hacker, and apparently forgetting that Druze exist in Qapu Khalqi, to like now she really has a position that isn't filled by anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. She's had a huge glow up. It's pretty exciting. We've got Rouhani. I mean, he's solid. No tags, though. And then Laxmee, who's a new model from Forco, being acquired by Whiteco with the Odalisques tag.
she's a great wild card.
Yeah, she's
The
great.
Odalisques tag happens to also exist on her.
Yeah, yeah. No, she is a really,
Yeah.
really good wild card. But, yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe we'll go. We'll start going and looking at the
Yeah.
units now, and we can get to Odalisques when we get there. Starting off with the Gulam infantry. I don't think much has
Okay.
really changed here. You've had the light shotgun change,
Um,
which has affected them,
there's
a
one
little
other
bit.
change.
Yeah?
So yeah, the light shotgun change affects them. Light shotgun and rifle is still better than a combi rifle.
Oh, 100%.
So
Yeah.
it's not as good as it was, but it's still better than your average line trooper's weapon.
Yeah, I mean, having the rifle light shotgun, it always felt like pretty bullshit, whether you were playing them or going against them. Because you just knew, if someone tries to push through your core, they're pretty fucked. And if someone gets too close to your deployment zone, a random Gulam can easily force a trade.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
the
quite nice.
change that I think has gone under the radar a little bit. They lost the sniper rifle profile.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I used to run the sniper rifle, just very cheap .5 Swick. I guess with the way the Link team changes have shaken out, you're not getting them up to BS14 anymore. You're probably, I guess the sniper rifle might not see an incredible amount of play in N5 anyway, so I'm not loathing its loss an incredible amount.
I think, if I recall correctly, most line troopers lost access to the basic sniper rifles they had. There are some that are still there, but I think most of them disappeared.
Yeah, I know the moderators lost their multi-sniper rifle as well. See, it's a pattern, but again, even the moderators, they don't really want to be shooting either, so not going to mourn that loss an incredible amount.
And while we're on the Gulams, still the best line infantry lieutenant of the game, and now it's even better.
Free speedball.
yeah, 15 points for a Whip 14 lieutenant with a free command token.
Yeah. I mean, in some respect, it feels like, would you rather pay a command token for your speedball, or 15 points and getting an order
or 4 points?
Yeah, true, 4 points.
It's only 4 points because that's the upgrade over the basic lieutenant.
Yeah, yeah. So now, I mean, we've seen speedball, generally be incredibly strong. Qapu Khalqi, I think it has room to use those command tokens as well, converting irregulars or doing coordinated orders.
Yeah.
Or even just reforming fire teams. So I think, that +1 command token, it's a really nice add. Playing sectorials, I have felt a bit of a squeeze in the command token department, where, at least for me, I feel like I'm just sort of auto-taking that speedball most games, just leaving me with 3. And you do feel that squeeze sometimes if you're playing a sectorial.
Yeah. Last night I played my first game that I did not speedball in, and that was because it was Biotech 4, and I needed this. I needed all my command tokens.
Yeah, no, absolutely reasonable there.
Yeah, absolutely. More command tokens, can't go wrong.
Yeah, command tokens good. All right, we might flick to the Corregidor Alguaciles, who I just glazed over going into the Gulam team. I know you've got some notes on this one, so I might let you tear into it.
Just, I understand there's fluff reason for why they're there, and part of QK. Just let them count as Gulams.
Yeah, it's...
or let them form the basis of their own fire team. But on top of that, they lost their multi-sniper profile.
Yeah.
So the one reason you could possibly have to take an Aguacilla for the multi-sniper that isn't available elsewhere is gone.
Yeah.
They're 1 point cheaper, and they break link coherent or link purity.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. Yeah, I just do not understand it. I mean, they don't bring any. They're just strictly worse, and they were that in N4, and Alguaciles are probably one of the worst line troops in the game to begin with.
Yep.
I was really hoping they'd maybe try and incorporate the Corregidor elements more, but if you're taking an Alguacil, something's gone wrong. Just period.
If you're playing QK and you have your Aguacils from multiple editions ago, because they had a place then,
Mm.
and you want to still use them as your Bashee Bazook hollow mask. So when the Bashee Bazooks either walk on or jump onto the board, deploy them as 3 Aguasillas, and you
That'll
get to use the
show.
old models. Yep.
Yay!
And it breaks your opponent's brain for just a moment until it clicks.
Yeah, I mean, or you could, you could just do something really dumb. Take Hafsa, disguise them as Aguasillas, and say, "Oh, this team's only got a level X bonus." But
Yes.
you're not taking that to a tournament. I'll say that.
That's actually not a horrible idea, um, because it will make your opponent underestimate you while they look at your horrible list you just deployed until
Yeah.
they realize what it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, if you take, let's say you're standing up that Hafsa
Yeah.
HRL in ARO, you could
Mhm.
disguise it as something dumb like an Aguasile missile launcher.
Yeah.
They think, oh, getting under this Aguasile missile launcher, what a big smart boy I am, and then maybe just blow them up with a BS-13 rocket
Yeah.
launcher in good range.
Yeah.
But man, you might lose sportsmanship points for just humiliating your opponent if that happens. All right, so we found the use for the Aguasile. Congratulations,
Yeah.
Nick. You're a genius.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks.
All right, we might move on to the Odalisques now.
Okay.
Who they've had a number of profile changes.
Mhm.
Uh, the first one is, they used to have individual profiles with either Sixth Sense or 360 Visor. They've sort of
Yeah.
just given all the Odalisques Sixth Sense and Combat Instinct, which is now in N5, the full Sixth Sense from N4. Uh,
Yeah.
did they have Immune Shock before?
Yeah, I believe they did.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if there were units to have no Wind Incap but not Shock Immune, I'd bet money it would be the Odalisque. But all their CC skills have kind of gone directly into their weapon at the para CC weapon -9. They've picked up
Yes.
Pulsar +1 bursts, which is really nice.
Mhm.
And this Flash Pulse +1 burst is interesting as well. Any other big
Uh,
changes you've noticed?
I believe they had a Flash Pulse +1 burst profile in N4.
Mm.
But yes, the Pulsar +1 burst on every profile is good.
Yeah, also
Um,
the contender change is noteworthy as well.
yes, the submachine gun contender is no longer redundant.
Yeah,
They cover different range bands now.
yeah. They've still got the multi-pistol. You used to be able to use that in CC if you weren't using your para CC weapon. Not really
Yes,
the case anymore,
that's
but yeah.
that's probably the worst change to them
Mm.
because previously they were CC attack -9
Yeah.
and had the option of multi-pistol or para CC.
Mm.
Losing the multi-pistol close combat profile really hurts them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It means that they no longer have a lethal option in CC.
Yeah, it's not good.
Uh,
I mean, look, you can still walk away and submachine gun or pulsar something in the face as you go, but it is a bit of a pain. Losing a
yes,
bit of order
yeah,
efficiency there.
yeah,
Yeah, not good.
yeah. I do like. So toward the end of N4, they did a profile consolidation with them. Uh, Early N4, they had probably some of the most profiles of any model in the game
Mm.
because every weapon loadout had both a 360 and a Sixth Sense profile.
Yeah.
Uh, at the end of N4, they consolidated them down, and so that every model had both 360 and Sixth Sense. And now they've just taken 360 away, and it's just Sixth Sense and close and Combat Instinct now.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
in terms of Odalisques generally, they were always sort of an ugly duckling, being BS-12, having a bit of survivability, but generally
mhm.
wanted to be a piece that pushed up with, a Spitfire being the best weapon they had available to them. Do you think that role changes now in N5? Do you think they have a place in anyone's lists?
No. Um, their weapons are still. I feel like they need a rewrite,
Yeah.
and not just like a rules rewrite. They need a fluff rewrite as well to
Hmm.
get rid of that baggage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, like their weapon loadouts are awkward
Hmm.
because They're all really close range, with the exception of that Spitfire, but they
Hmm.
don't have mobility, and their survivability is
Meh.
okay.
Yeah, it's
Like,
fine.
okay, Armor 2 BTS 3, no wound, didn't get past station is not bad.
Yeah.
Um, but like the cheap profiles where that type of survivability would be really good don't have the weapons to do anything,
Hmm.
and the profiles that have the weapons to do anything pay enough points that that type of survivability is expected.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's one profile I'm sort of drawn. Well, two I'm sort of drawn to.
Mm.
I do think the Flash Pulse is quite nice as a defensive piece, because you're getting the special die now on Flash Pulses in ARO.
Mm-hmm.
I could see you kind of hugging a corner towards your DZ, and really, forcing your opponent, if they want to engage along this line, having to come into that Flash Pulse range or submachine gun range or Pulsar. I think there might be some value there. And the contender submachine gun Pulsar, it's you could tack it on to the end of a Harry's, have the contender
Mm-hmm.
as like a backup, maybe going close. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
not as sold on that. 24 points, is actually a pretty hefty sum now that points have generally gone down. But yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably just looking at that Flash Pulse, and that's about it.
Yeah, you know what does the same job as that Flash Pulse?
A Flash Pulse.
A 12-point Gulam,
Yeah, yeah,
because
that's
they're both
true.
whip 14, but the 12-point Gulam is also a forward observer.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's very true. You've
Oh,
you've got
actually,
the NWI and armor, but I think you're right. You probably just take a Gulam.
that is another thing that's always bothered me about these. They want
Hmm.
to be upfield, in close, and they have zero specialist profiles.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's quite annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, oh well, another addition of obscurity for the young Odalisque, I imagine.
yeah.
Oh well. All right, on to the Hafsa. These guys haven't changed a whole bunch except for one really notable exception. They picked up a
Hmm.
chain of command profile. How cool.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, for a chain of command profile, it does pretty much everything you want.
Mm.
Like short of being a camo state.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That said, it's 20 points.
It's crazy. You're getting into
And
Ment territory.
like it's 20 points and other than chain of command, performs at the same level as a 11-point Gulam line infantry, except for it's got +1 ballistic skill
Mm.
and +1 armor.
Yeah. No, I think the Hafs is really cool. You don't have many, like brawler lieutenants in Qapu Khalqi.
No.
Uh, so you're not getting like it's not like you've got a Marut or anything like that. But I do think it's nice to have. It's nice to have as a specialist profile, and in a Gulam team, if you want to take like a decoy Gulam lieutenant, you
Mm.
might kind of feel forced to kind of mash those in the same team. You can put the Hafsa chain of command kind of on the other side of the board, wildcarded into some other team. So I do think there's utility in spreading out kind of where your
Mm.
lieutenant is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I will counter that by saying there's also a 15-point half lieutenant.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Look,
So
yeah,
instead of paying 20 points to hide your chain of command, uh, and then pay for a lieutenant as well, you could pay 15 points and just hide your lieutenant.
yeah. I mean, the Hafsa lieutenants, incredibly popular, and it really
Mhm.
just comes down to how much do you value that extra command token from the Gulam.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
otherwise, there's really not much reason not just to take the Hafsa lieutenant.
Yes.
And I think there's space for both. Just depends where your list wants to go.
Mhm. The two other profiles that I think are worth looking at, the half forward observer,
Hmm.
because it also comes with a deployable repeater. It's
Yeah.
only 2 points more than your basic Hafsa. So if you're putting Hafsa in a link, like in a Janissary link to buff up the purity, it's only 2 points more, and you get a specialist in that link that's hidden
Hmm.
and has a sneaky deployable repeater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And look, a whip 14 flash pulse, with a special die. That's nice if someone tries to break into your deployment zone, or as kind of a
yeah.
late game stand up. You've
Mm-hmm.
passed your turn 3 in acquisition. it's your opponent's turn. You just need to put as much junk between them and the point as you can. Nice
Yeah.
to have. But yeah, just upgrading 2 points to a specialist. Really fantastic.
Yeah. The heavy rocket launcher you also mentioned.
Mamma
That's a
mia.
good one
Ah,
because it's only 1 point more. It is 1.5 SWIC. But having that surprise heavy rocket launcher in a place that like you can't see coming,
mm.
plus it comes with an assault pistol.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. I mean, I really do like the trend of, heavy rocket launchers are always quite cheap, but models carrying them also usually come with an assault pistol or a shotgun of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, look, it's a great model to slam in that Gulam team, bring it up to BS13. It's incredibly cheap, with a lot of models you'd want to take anyway, just with how great and toolboxy Gulams are.
Yeah.
And yet, we talked about the surprise arrow. They're also pretty decent inactive, and just a very low
Mm-hmm.
buy-in for a quality of weapon that you don't necessarily get in these line troop teams anymore. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty high on the heavy rocket launcher.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we might move on to the Korsan, Croziers of the Gate.
Yeah, excellent.
These guys, I mean, the profiles were just an absolute mess when they first released. There was like 16 different profiles, all like a tiny, whiny different thing, and you still get that kind of the same here, but it's a bit more
Mm-hmm.
meaningful. They've
Yeah.
condensed things down.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think all the profiles have a place.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, look, the first big thing I'm seeing is BS attack -3. That's a huge
Yes.
change. Uh,
That
yeah.
that is huge, especially given their mobility.
mm, yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. I mean, it reminds
the
me of the new Keisatsu with the Thunderbolts, but in a very different way. Where, the Thunderbolt Keisatsu, they're standing up, they're using that -3 to make it difficult for your opponent to hit them. These guys are using it to come around the corner with a submachine gun or grenades, and it's, sort of watch you shrug and go, well, really pushing that BS11 to its max.
oh, I've got a better approach for you. Okay, so parachutist deployment zone.
mm.
First of all, they have a parachutist deployment zone profile. It only has a
Surprise!
boarding shotgun, but okay. So you come on parachutist deployment zone.
mm.
You got 6 inches to move. You move behind someone within 8 because you want that +6 to hit. You're hitting on 16s. They're -6 to dodge
Yeah, it's crazy.
because
And
the BS attack
yeah.
-3 and the line of fire.
Mm.
You can also do that with the chain rifles.
Mm.
So the chain rifle +2 burst, or any of the other chain rifles. They've got 6-2 movement and climbing plus. So climbing plus isn't as good, but you've still got that option to get weird attack vectors from behind. So if you
Yeah.
get the chain rifle behind them, you declare BS attack with a chain rifle. They're -3 to dodge. They have no line of fire. They're -6 to dodge now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's just so many stunts you can pull
Yeah.
with the Corsans. It even applies to spec firing grenades as well, I believe.
Yes.
So,
Yes. It's a BS attack.
yeah. So, I mean, there's just so many stunts you can pull with the Corsans. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
valuable to note as well. The Ravier 3, usually
Mm-hmm.
parachute deployment zones, you only get one of them. I could
Mm-hmm.
see you holding two Corsans for that parachutist deployment zone.
Yeah.
Run one or two in, one early, one late, can really
Mm-hmm.
cause some huge problems.
Yeah.
What do you think about the forward
We.
deployment profile?
I don't think it's worth it.
Mm,
It doesn't have a marker state, so if you don't go first, um, it will likely just get killed
mm,
because it'll be out ahead of your army. If you So you either have the choice of basically having overspent 50% to put it one order further up.
yeah, yeah,
I'd much rather the FTO profiles
yeah, and
because they are
mm,
cheap enough. They're all wild cards, so you can just go, I've got a nice duo, let's pop them in and make a Harry's.
yeah, 100%. And like you said, you make that Harry's, you're happy to just run the Corsan in, and for him to get blown up, he's going to do some really good work in there as well. So yeah, no, I
So
think the Corsan's great.
the profile that I think is the best, and I think it came down a point. So
Mm.
I thought it was 14 points before. The chain rifle drop bears.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
So as you're moving the fire team up, if they don't have anything else to do, you move them, and the Korsan pops out a drop bear. And then
Mm.
you move them, and the Korsan pops out a drop bear. You've got the special die. They're Fizz 13 at good range that goes up to a 16.
Mm.
Even at Fizz 13, you're looking with a special die. I think you're looking at over 85% chance to land it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and the special
Yeah.
it's the special die really coming in clutch like it does with pitchers. You're getting that
Mm-hmm.
extreme accuracy without actually having to spend that resource of the drop bear.
Yep.
And yeah, there's so many ways to use it. I mean, you can chuck a drop bear on a corner, come around it. You've still got a heavy pistol on that profile. You can face to face them, put them on a -3.
Yep.
It's the classic
Yeah.
fork. They try and dodge. They're at a -3. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we will definitely see them in QK lists.
Yeah, I can. I mean, honestly, I can see you maxing out your AVA with Corsans, setting up, two duos, popping a Corsan on the end of each to make your two Harrises, then the parachutist deployment zone. I think these are the poster boys. Corvus Belly really wanted them to be.
Yes.
That didn't really quite take off in N4. I think they've done a really good effort to make them really cool, and use things like BS attack -3 in a way that you wouldn't think of just as the normal gunfighting thing. It's a really
Yes.
creative use of it, and I think
it is.
it's just so cool. It's just so cool.
Mhm.
All right, we might move on to the Najjarun Engineers, who've picked up the deployable cover and the turret. Otherwise, you've got better engineers, I think. Well, I guess it depends what you want out of your engineer. I never ran these guys personally.
So, at 15 points for a Whip 14 engineer, still good. I
can't shake
my
your fist
issue
at
with
that.
them is similar to like my issue with Dr. Worm in
Onyx.
Onyx.
Mm.
Look, new toys, deployable cover, armed turrets, everyone gets them. Yippee! And then you get to a faction like they're only on one model and it's AVA 1.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're definitely not an armed turret faction.
It's like, yes, we technically gave you access to these new toys. So you can't complain, right?
Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah, I think overall, you're right. They're an okay engineer, but QK also doesn't necessarily need to build to have engineers.
No, not really. I mean, you've got the Rafiq who can sort of link, but you're probably not taking the Red Fury as your primary gun piece there. No. The Thunderbolt TR bot's nice, but yeah, I mean, look, it's not something to dedicate a whole troop slot to picking back up, and it's maybe not something that we've really mentioned yet. But unless you're building towards Janissaries, QK really is a slots army in terms of building a list where you've got points in Swick, but your biggest pressure is your slots because you've got really low cost, high efficiency pieces where I just don't know if I can justify the slot for an engineer as much when I could compress it with another slot.
Yeah, for the armed turret rifle, I don't think it's worth it at all. That's like the worst of the turrets, and it has such small, like, good range bands before it falls into negative territory that it's pretty easy to out gunfight and just spend in order to remove it. The deployable cover, it's the only way to get deployable cover. If you want to play with it and you've got a plan for it, this is the way to go. You've got enough tags that deployable cover may be worth considering.
Yeah,
but you're building a list around it, so you're including it because it's a core part of the strategy for that list. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't think there's much need for them.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you said, if you're taking the deployable cover, you really got to have a plan for it. It's not a tool you can just add in like the armed turret and just be reassured it'll happen. It's like, no, you have got to have a plan. You got to position things right, and even then the payoff's not incredible. So yeah, I'm not incredibly high on them.
Hmm.
All right, we might move to a new unit, the Saïk sort of a la tag support pilots.
Hmm.
So these guys are the new sort of take on the tag pilots. They've got the tag comm, which is like Rem driver but for tags.
Hmm.
Uh, is it? Do all units have the same? I don't think I've seen.
Uh, no.
Yeah, no.
Almost
Okay.
all units have the same.
Hmm.
The Ariadna one has dodge fizz +1 instead of +3.
Thanks, Ariadna. So yeah,
Yes.
he's got tag comm, dodge, fizz +3, which brings
Hmm.
most tags up to dodging on a 14 or 15, and gizmo kit +1
Yep.
fizz. You know, which is nice to have when you don't have remote blah blah tags.
Yeah, the Gizmo kit is okay in
Hmm,
in Hawk. But in Pano, it's really good because they're going
yeah.
from like 13 to 14,
Hmm.
and now like they're matching their whips. In Hawk,
Not so
it's
much.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean
my
the
take on it.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. It's a
I
9-point
was
specialist
yeah. It's a 9 point
with
specialist.
E charges and a Gizmo kit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it
Uh,
does a fair few classifieds.
it does classifieds. Uh, and it doesn't. I believe. I think it can. No, sorry, different list. It doesn't link with anything. I believe in this.
No, I mean that's what I was going
Uh,
to point out. Most tag
mhm.
pilots they can link with the line troop, but yeah, they're
Yes.
pretty glaringly missing from the lineup. But yeah, I don't know.
At 9 points, if you are going to take like tags plural in
Hmm.
QK, which is possible, uh, it's definitely worth the 9 points to get the dodge bonus.
Yeah, I think so. There's
Because stuff like
yeah,
going from dodge 11 to 14,
huge.
if you're playing a tag list, is huge.
Hmm.
Because sometimes you will be put in a bad gunfight situation, and being able just to go, I dodge on a 14,
Yeah,
will
yeah,
get you out of places that you didn't expect to.
yeah. I think yeah, there's one tag in particular who really does benefit from the extra dodge, who we'll get to later. It is a bit of a shame it can't fit into the fire teams, but on the I guess on the same metric, some line troop fire teams really did want the skill set that the tag pilot would bring. I don't really think that's the case for the Gulams, but no, I
Mm-hmm.
agree. I think it's a cool model. If you're taking
Mm-hmm.
tag/tags, definitely pick one up.
Yep.
All right, on to a very exciting pickup. Laxmee, the GOAT, Hacking Device Plus. We're back, baby. White noise is on the table in QK. Rejoice.
Yes. There are some combos for this coming up later.
Mm,
Yeah, it's it's a hacking device plus in QK.
it's huge. It's so
I
incredibly
think you can
huge.
stop there. It
Yeah.
also has linkable pictures, but linkable pictures are not like neat in QK because they've already
Mm.
gone. Mine layer cyber mines,
It's nice. It's
nice little
nice.
bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
upgrade fairy dust. It's also
sure.
nice. Yeah. It's not, it's
Yeah.
probably not as applicable in QK as other. Sorry. Well just in Whiteco. That's all. Yeah. Not as applicable as in Whiteco, but nice to
Uh,
have.
yeah. Like I could see some situations where if you're taking more like heavy infantry and you want to put up the fairy dust, now you don't have to
Hmm.
take an Evo hacker.
Hmm.
Laxby can do her thing, white noise, other hacking stuff, and then toss up fairy dust at the end of the round.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking. Well, I was talking a bit before about a lack of decisive gunfighting. Putting
Yeah.
white noise in front of, say, an Azrael, that's pretty damn efficient in terms of getting something down. I think
Yeah.
Laxmi's kind of hard to understate how transformative she can be to QK, and I think
She
she should.
opens
Yeah,
up Yeah, she opens up list builds that were not available to QK before.
yeah. I mean, I might even say something crazy like every QK list should probably take Laxmi. Is that crazy to say?
I think QK list should have if you build a QK list and you don't have her in there, you need a reason why you don't.
Yeah, yeah. I think she's transformative, but also
Mhm.
like in a very fun way as well. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm really excited for QK in general, and Laxmi is a decent part of that.
Mhm.
All right, on to Wild Bill. He's had a bit of a change, mostly just in that the contender is now really good. It used to be
Mm-hmm.
the ugly duckling profile, but now it might even be the preferred one. Uh, what do you think about Wild Bill? I mean, I liked him when I played with him in N4, but he almost fits in even less now in N5 with how link teams have gone.
So my notes, I have one comment on him.
Mm-hmm.
If he counted toward Fireteam purity, he might see play.
Yeah, yeah, that's incredibly fair. I mean, the issue is
that's it.
Yeah, he's only showing up in Janissary and Kaplan teams. We talked about how you don't want to run a Kaplan team. Your Janissary doesn't want to be polluted by a Wild Bill.
Yep.
He's a really cool profile, but yeah, he just doesn't fit in with
He's
what
got
Qapu Khalqi's
great
doing.
fluff to explain why he runs with Janissaries wherever they appear.
Mm.
So just make him count as a Janissary. He teams up with them all the time.
Yeah. I mean, because otherwise he's a really good profile. I mean, Spitfire range bands with that contender is probably hitting on 16s. T2, that's pretty deadly.
SR -1 as well.
Yeah, damage 14. Yeah, really good. I mean, I really like Wild Bill. I took him a lot in N4 because you take a Kaplan to get the Korsan, and then Wild Bill was a pretty natural include. But yeah, here he just doesn't really fit in with how the Fireteam charts are set up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we might move on to young Leila.
Yes.
What the hell?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, take it away.
She was previously Hack's only choice of faction killer hacker.
Mm.
In QK, you have Druze, so you have killer hackers. That might not be whip 14, but they're cheaper and come with pictures.
Yeah.
She picked up Carbonite and Firewall -3.
Whew.
So now you have a killer hacker who still does work if your opponent doesn't have hackers.
Yeah, and the Firewall -3 is pretty nice as well. I can imagine you setting up a Haris team of, Sekban HRL, Gulam Hacker, Leila Sharif. That's a nice little hacking bunker for not a lot of points. Some redundancy with the Shock Marksman rifle. EM mine's nice. And Combat Instinct is actually a little more relevant than you might think, with a lot of surprise attack hackers. So it might look like an ugly duckling skill.
Oh.
I think it's actually really important.
No, not the surprise attack hackers. Combat Instinct ignores stealth.
Oh, yeah. I'm dumb.
She's not just a killer hacker.
Yeah.
So if any heavy infantry move through your hacking net, and Hawk can set up deceptively good hacking nets.
Oh, 100%.
They can't stealth through your hacking nets. Every time they try to move, you carbonite them.
Yeah, and the issue is, say a Tanko is trying to sneak through your lines. They run through, you declare a carbonite. If they then declare a reset, that's loud. And every other hacker is going to get a beat on them. So, if you're a HI, there's no way you're going to risk running through that and just copying a carbonite.
No.
Yeah, no, Leila's really good. I think the Gulam tag really does a lot for her as well in the flexibility you have with where you can put her. I like her quite a bit.
Yeah.
All right, medical specialist Raman Rahuni. Really good doctor. Doesn't have a tag. Kind of hard to fit in places. That's what I've got here.
Honestly, I don't think he changed at all. I think his points even stayed the same.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
He's still a great doctor. He's probably the best doctor in the game. He's NWI, so he can heal himself.
Yeah. And they try to scale that back a bit as well, so it's cool that he's kept it.
Yeah. Did he lose a cube?
Oh, I didn't even notice. Yeah, he did.
Oh, hang on, sorry, no. Nope, sorry. He has cube on yours. On my screen, cube isn't loading for some reason then.
Oh, okay.
Because there's this place for it, and it's just a blank spot.
So you just see his little order and then nothing here.
Yep. Okay. So he does have a cube.
Yeah.
My screen did not load properly.
Yeah. I mean, I quite like Rahuni.
He's a wild.
Yeah, I quite like Rahuni if you're building, say, an Azrael and not trying to go for the Haris bonus. You can run like duo bonus. You can go like Azrael, Rahuni, and then a Burkhut, and that's a really resilient, efficient team that can do quite a bit. But yeah,
I used to run double Azrael and Rouhani.
I mean, look, that's probably even more viable now than it was then. So go
Yeah.
off, I guess. Yeah.
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 Great Doctor. He's a wild card. You can fit him in wherever.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's a bit more important for Hack to be having that duo burst bonus, but I think people are overlooking a lot of just very good utility options for building smaller teams that don't get a kind of Haris bonus. I could see you taking like a Jan Bazan heavy machine gun who, maybe doesn't need that burst bonus because it's just going to be shooting through smoke, backing him up with like Rahuni and a Korsan if you want to move up. There's a lot of utility you can build without worrying an incredible amount about bonuses. So I think Rahuni's deceptively good.
And don't forget, whip 15 flash pulse.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. No, I think one of my favorite changes has genuinely been Flash Pulse's getting the burst bonus. I think it's incredibly cool.
Yeah.
All right, on to Fiddler, who has gone up a point on all of her profiles. Her contender has changed to now be quite good. Her climbing plus got a lot worse, and so did her jackbots. Where do you sit on Fiddler?
She has an FTO profile, and the other two don't exist right now.
Yeah, no, that's incredibly fair. I mean, I used to run Fiddler essentially as close assault in Qapu Khalqi, because you'd get heads down using Azraels or Jean Bazans, and then, if I didn't want to send in my Yan Yans or had already dropped them, Fiddler could run in and just make a mess of whatever she came across. And I think maybe she still has that potential here, though Korsan give her a bit more competition than she used to. Vulcan shotguns, they've lost their template, but you can still send a firing squad around a corner. But I agree, it's sort of awkward with where she's ended up. I don't know that the contender change is nice, but yeah.
Well, I think with the jackbot, it's a double blow of losing their templates, so they can't fork, and climbing plus being downgraded.
Yeah, I mean, you just used to be able to pull the craziest angles with the jackbots and get them so that, you can shoot me, but I'll explode, and I'm forking you in a different way. Yeah, no, the climbing plus change, I think, has genuinely been really sad for the game. And yeah, Fiddler really suffers.
The first profile is still viable. It's 29 points. It's a little expensive, but it is a 2-wound engineer who dodges on 15s. She's 6'4" and super jump. So even if she wants to maintain cover, she can move 10 inches.
Yeah, no, she's pretty crazy how fast she can move. I guess the issue for me is you've got Burkhuts, who are also Whip 14 engineers. And yeah, I guess, Fiddler's speed really puts her across the edge. We've seen how transformative the jump changes have been to super jump models, where, you are genuinely outpacing a Burkhut so fast that there is an argument for you existing, which I think is a good thing, but I don't see myself personally too drawn to Fiddler.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
I'd agree.
We might move to the Bashee Bazooks, who got a lot of big changes. A lot of big dog changes, which are really nice. So we might just, it's all in the profiles, basically. You picked up a contender.
There's a change before we get to profiles.
Yeah, do tell.
They got combat jump.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even, fair enough.
Yeah. It's combat jump Fizz 11, which is better than their Fizz 10. It's not the best, but it's an option.
Yeah.
And that's always good to have.
Yeah, that's true. I guess if you have a Bashee Bazooka in your list anyway, and then something really urgent comes up, you can just try and land that drop. They don't have super jump, like a lot of other combat jump models have picked up.
No.
So if they fuck up the drop, they're still probably pretty screwed. So I guess I don't see The combat jump doesn't really jump out to me personally, but it is nice as an option.
Yes, absolutely.
Alright, so now profile changes. The first big one, all of them just picked up a boarding pistol plus 1 burst.
Yes.
That's huge. So boarding pistols, they keep the template. So every profile has a double template, which is absolutely massive. First profile, you've got the contender plus 1 burst, which is, essentially a T2 marksman rifle, which is pretty crazy. You got a T2 AP boarding shotgun. What the hell? Yeah. Then you've got the specialist operative rifle light shotgun EM mine, which we're all a bit familiar with from the ITS season, where they've maintained that template. They've got the breaker rifle and the submachine gun. Zam. What do you think about the Bashies?
Love them. I really like that they went back and put specialist profile on basically everything that's not like a SWIC equivalent weapon loadout.
Yeah.
Submachine gun, I'm not sure about because they've got a boarding pistol plus 1 burst, and I think those overlap a fair bit. But
yeah, that's
I really
true.
do like the option of the rifle light shotgun EM mines or the breaker rifle, because that provides 2 different attack vectors that go against your BTS.
Yeah. I think I'd personally lean more towards the EM mines, but the breaker rifle definitely has a place. Especially going into an Ariadna or even, a Pan-Oceania, who generally have a lower BTS than their arm. You can really catch some units out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've talked about these guys on the Ikari and the Druze episode as well. The T2 boarding shotgun, that has a lot of potential, just to outright kill anything it hits if you're coming on from a surprise position. If I'm a tag, I'm really scared of a T2 boarding shotgun with AP. It's crazy.
One thing to remember with the Bashies, with their hollow mask, I know we talked about bringing them on as Aguacilas before. You can bring them on as a different profile, as hollow masked Bashee bazooks of a different profile.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you bring them on as, say, like a breaker rifle, and then walk up, your opponent reacts, and you drop a mine. Or they'll make them try to defend against an attack vector that isn't there.
Yeah, you can do a similar thing, disguising them as just not projecting, but just disguising one as a Yan when it comes in. So your opponent's like, I just got to dodge. And that's also true. They also get a bit better with the Korsan parachutist deployment zone, because it gives you another viable disguise.
Yes.
So yeah, I think the Bashies have gotten better because of what's around them as well. But also, these profiles are amazing.
Yeah.
I guess the one big thing for the Bashee is that he does have competition. You have got those new Corsans. You've also got the Yan-Yans who you may start air deployed. So I think for him, he is really good. If he was the only parachutist in faction, I think you'd see him all the time. But I think he's got some serious competition, so we'll have to see how he shakes out.
Yeah, like that's good. It's good to have competitive models that all want to be in the same slot and give slightly different usages. So you can tailor your list to your playstyle.
Yeah, for sure. Can you think of any missions maybe where you'd really be angling for the Bashee Bazook?
Firefight.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very fair.
T2 AP boarding shotgun walking off the back boardage. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, it walks on like a yacht gun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. All right, next up, the Warcor. Same as always. Might be good to note, though, in the current ITS season 16.5, journalists now get specialist operative. So, just a good thing to note. They're good. They're fine. You don't usually see them as much in QK as other armies because you are running pretty irregular heavy, and you don't really have a points squeeze like you do in other armies. Also, AVA3 Fanus. So, yeah.
Yes, yeah. QK is not worried about cheap orders.
No, not at all. But yeah, look, good to note. in your games, journalists have specialist operative from now onwards for the rest of the season. So don't forget that one. All right, now we've got the Druze shock teams. And really, I'm just looking at these two profiles down here, being the killer hacking device and regular hacking device with pictures. This is so attractive because of the X-Visor and how the range bands on the pictures have changed. I mean, they were good before, but now you're shooting out to 32, 2 dice on 12 if you're in a duo bonus. Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, there's no reason not to duo them. If you're really short, just take one regular and one killer hacker. Duo them, although you'll have to be careful about getting forked by arrows.
Yeah,
it's probably still better to take a whatever model, whatever Druze and a hacker.
Yeah.
So that after you put your pictures out there, you don't end up with a hacker that's attacking the non-active model.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be very realistic with you, I would usually just take one or even two killer hackers. And then, your Gulam hackers, they're so high quality and so cheap anyway. They're doing the whole hacking game a lot better than a Druze hacker. So yeah, I think you're right. You want to de-nest those hackers, spread that out so you don't get, surprised like Trinity'd by Zensha through your own picture or something, yeah. But yeah, no, it's Warhorse, good to note as well. It's the new veteran skill, means they can't be isolated. So they really have to kill you, which not incredibly hard, but nice to note. All right, on to the big money Bazan tactical group. I'm in love. I mean, I've been in love with these guys from day one.
They're a faction-defining model.
Yeah, absolutely. The big thing here is MSV2 in a faction that has a huge amount of access to smoke. You've got a Red Fury, you've got a HMG who you can just run as solo models, but the AP Sniper Rifle and the Shock Marksman Rifle are both quite viable in duos, and the Shock Marksman Rifle's nice where you can be finding yourself in a bit of swick pressure depending on what you're taking. Now that duo bonuses have shaken out how they are, Bazans don't really have any other models that tag. Do you see yourself taking these sort of doctor and hacking models more? Because I didn't really tend to take them in N4.
No. So the hacker, yes, Janvan got Warhorse, but if you want a Warhorse hacker, you take a Druze.
Yeah.
So like that, it has a better model in the sectorial, just straight up. I've taken the Doctor before to make it a Haris, although the Doctor was a half set.
Yeah.
Right now, with the duo bonus being the key, I think you just take a duo of them, and either that's going to be like 2 AP snipers or an AP sniper heavy machine gun. Honestly, 2 AP snipers, it's only 1 Swick. And then you take a cheap Yan, you deploy them on the board right next to them prone, and you're hitting smoke on 13s with their irregular order.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the AP sniper, it's so cheap. It's so cheap on the Swick cost. I really do like what you said, taking an AP sniper and a heavy machine gun. I think that's a great little mix-up. When I played QK, it's going to sound really silly. A lot of the time, I would take full AVA 3 Yan, and I would just I'd see a point where I wanted them to land, and I'd just roll till one landed, and I would position my Bazan on the edges of the board so that the failed Yans would land in a position where the Bazan could use their smoke. But yeah, I have infinite time for the Bazan. And yeah, I agree. I mean, they're, like we said before, they're one of your really decisive gunfighters in that they will hit. They will win the gunfight, which can sometimes be a struggle for Haqqislam.
Yeah, the Red Fury is new because it came from reinforcements. I think that has the potential to change up how they play, in that you now have the option of a midfield MSV2 gunfighter.
Yeah, I mean, I did run the Red Fury because I was playing them
Mm,
sort of towards the end of N4, and yeah, no,
mm,
they're a fantastic solo piece to run around with. I really like the idea of just strapping a Korsan uh, to just drag around as well. Uh,
mm.
yeah, I mean, I think Jambazan's stocks are definitely up. I
Yeah.
like him quite a bit. All right, now we'll move on to the Sekban Naval Special Group. BS-13, NCO are sort of the big draws in that stat line, along with kind of decent
Mm.
armor. They've all kept their kind of their chain cult +1 burst, which is sort of like one of their defining sort of traits.
Mm.
The heavy rocket launcher really draws me. The Red
Yeah.
Fury's like fine. Uh, Spitfire's like fine, but I'd probably go more towards the Red Fury, just me personally. But what's your
Mm.
take on the Sekban?
Um, they're still okay. They're kind of like
Hmm.
the Odalisques, in that you're just they're still expensive for their survivability, and like that BS-13 is really good,
Hmm.
but they're not cheap enough to build a link out of them.
No, no, definitely not.
And if you want the high BS pure link, you build Janissaries.
Hmm.
The heavy rocket launcher is the standout because I think, yeah, you build 4 Gulams, you toss that in, it gets the +1, it goes up to BS-14. Um,
I mean, yeah,
and
even
that's
yeah.
about it.
I mean, look, even just in a Harry's, you build a nice little utility, a nice little utility duo, and just
Yeah,
slap a Sekban heavy rocket launcher on it.
yeah.
And it's not going to do you much harm. Yeah, I really like the Sekban. You are
Hmm.
probably right to say you can ignore most of the other profiles and just look at this heavy rocket launcher.
Hmm.
But the heavy rocket launcher is a star for me. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I quite like
yeah.
it. All right, on to Security Chief Arslan. Has not gone down in points. Has not picked up Shock Immune. Has picked up a Disco Bowler, and that's it.
Yep. If you absolutely want to play with a disco ball and in QK, you take Arslan.
Yeah, I mean,
Otherwise,
he's not
you
good.
don't.
You don't. Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
got. Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, no. Even in Ikari, where you're paying even less points for models than QK. You've got Tanko there with Disco Baller. I don't know what they were thinking with Arslan, man. Nobody wants him.
Uh, I, if you take him as your LT, you can spend almost half. You can spend over half his points to get a
A chain
chain
of
of command.
command. Sweet, thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
All right, we might move to actually, just absolute 180
Yeah.
to an exciting new include. Freelance
Yeah.
Operator Samsa, the GOAT. Uh, I'm super excited about this. Move 6-2
Yep.
with super jump. He's picked up a decoy which he didn't have, which makes you
Hmm.
feel a teeny bit safer if you have to go second.
Yep.
Infiltration, Mim 3 with BS-13. He's probably the best gunfighter. Like, if you're not throwing smoke or white noise, he's probably your best gunfighter in faction.
Hmm.
Specialist operative, just cherry on top. Surprise
Yeah.
attack, which is interesting with decoy. And then that
Yes.
beautiful plasma rifle.
Yep.
Wow.
He was good before. He got better, and now he's in this faction.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I know he was pretty defining for N4 JSA when he landed there,
Hmm.
and I can see him
Hmm.
having a similar effect in Qapu
Hmm.
Khalqi.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the decoy. I like that they've started to give forward deploy and infiltrating models that did not otherwise have a marker state
Mm,
decoy
mm,
to give them just that slight bit more survivability if they go second.
mm.
And then they explored a little bit more creative space here with giving him surprise attack on the decoy, which I think he might be the first model to do that, where his only marker state is decoy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm unsure, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right. I know Nauf picked up a decoy as well, but doesn't get
Mm-hmm.
surprise attack with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's pretty unique. Uh, it is only a one-time use with the surprise attack, but you
Mm-hmm.
can super jump, you can strip cover from something,
Mm-hmm.
make a big play, and the surprise attack really helps you come out the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, yeah, I mean, just very good for classifieds as well in something like Firefight. being a
Yeah.
character is just such a huge boon in Infinity.
Yep.
Quite a lot he can do.
Mhm.
All right, KTS Tactical Services. We talked a bit about these guys before, saying we're not incredibly high on them. You know, he's got the, if you want to pay an extra point, you get min -3 and lose a point of BS on your Sekban. But yeah, I don't think these guys have a
And
place at
armor.
all. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm not sure where they go.
yeah.
They're some of your most expensive medium infantry in the faction.
Mm,
They have the worst armor.
mm,
They have armor that's only one higher than line infantry.
yeah,
Their BS is only one higher than line infantry, and they've got a lot riding on that min -3
yeah.
and that BTS 6.
And also no
So,
keywords
but
either.
really good against nanopulsers.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I remember I was playing against Toha once, and I had one of these guys, and all the viral ammunition in the world just couldn't crack him. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's more of a corner case than something you want to rely on.
Yeah.
All right, we might move to something real exciting. It's
Ooh.
the Janissary, the Janissary. I mean, incredible stat line. We've seen a few heavy infantry take a hit in the Fizz department with the points drop and probably trying to control for that dodge bonus with the Haris team.
Mhm.
They've
Mhm.
kept it where they're going to be dodging on a 15 most of the time.
Yeah.
BS attack -3. They've kept that ridiculous BS skill. And yet, look, you're really looking at the heavy machine gun. You're looking at the missile launcher. The
Mhm.
Doctor 2 wounds is nice,
Mhm.
especially where, I mean, you don't have a cube, but there's still whip 14. And then, yeah, you just sort of chuck in your 2 Hafsa and you're golden.
Yeah. And everyone got a pulsar.
Yeah, yeah. Super, super cool. Um, yeah,
Um,
I mean, yeah.
yeah. But BTS 6, and it's very easy to put a tin bot in there.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you could even do is, yeah, I mean, you could just put these up to like a 4-man team and then put in someone like Layla Sharif if you're worried about hacking. Give them all a tin bot, put in a decent hacker in there. I think, there's a lot you can do with Janissaries that I think is sort of hard to perceive just looking at them on paper and looking at what's around them. I think you can get really
Uh,
creative with what you can do with these guys.
yeah. If you're gonna slot in a hacker, I'd go with Laxmee.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Because Layla already has a firewall herself
Hmm. Oh, sorry.
and
Yeah,
can.
I meant
Yep.
instead of the firewall Janissary.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but no, I think you're right on that. I think you do want to take Laxmee. She brings fairy
Mhm.
dust and the pictures, which is really valuable.
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, just white noise right there for your Janissary missile launcher or
Yep.
HMG. I mean,
Mhm.
imagine your
Or both.
opponents. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, I think he should take both. I mean,
Yeah. Absolutely.
imagine your opponent's fucked up and put a tag in a bad position. White noise on a BS attack -3 missile launcher. They're
Hmm.
fucked. Like they're absolutely fucked.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I love the Janissaries. Do you have any more notes on them? I'm kind of struggling
Oh no, that's about it.
to talk just
Like
because they're so
they were
good.
the poster child of that like no frills good HI, and they got better and cheaper. So
Yeah.
I think like they're the new poster child of the new baseline for what HI should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of poster childs for Qapu Khalqi, I think Janissaries and the little pirate guys, the Corsans, I think they're the
Yeah.
big winners coming out. All
Hmm.
right. Speaking of big winners, well,
Ooh.
Bularrata got worse, a little bit worse, and a little bit better in some
Uh,
ways. Either way, you're not taking them.
they still can't link.
Yeah.
Please just make them count as Janissaries. If you really want them to like Stevie, if you really want these in the faction for fluff reasons and historical reasons, please make them actually in the faction.
Yeah.
Um, make them count as Janissaries, and they're golden.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Timbot Firewall -6 is really, really good, and I can imagine
Yeah,
checking that in with a Janissary would be fantastic. I mean, speaking from a
yeah.
Corregidor context, Bubble Regatta are quite good. They're very survivable. They've all got a boarding pistol +1 burst.
Mm,
They've got some great sort of duo options,
mm,
but yeah, they just don't really fit in because they just can't link. Period. and they're only
Hmm.
AVA-1. I mean, the AVA-1's fine, because you'd only
Yeah.
really be taking the Timbot hacker anyway, but yeah,
Hmm.
doesn't link, whatever.
Yep.
Alright, might move on to the Azrael, uh,
Ooh.
he's just as bad as ever. The chain rifle's new, uh,
Hmm.
and it's a continuous chain rifle with +1 damage, sort of like a mini wrecker, almost.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, look, these guys were incredibly solid in N4. You'd take them in most Qapu Khalqi lists, and I don't really see that changing.
Yeah. The one change that I'm not a fan of, they used to be Fizz 14 with dodge equals Fizz 11,
Mm,
and they were reduced to Fizz 11.
yeah, right.
Yes, this simplifies the rules, but it also made them 15% more vulnerable to glue guns.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of, non-lethal weapons really
Yeah.
taking a step up, and that includes glue.
Mm.
If you're coming up against something like what are their names? Starmada with those
Hmm.
Seku droid glue
Yeah.
cannons.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Azrael is going to get really pissed off by that.
The Feuerbach profile did have BS attack +1 migrated to the model,
Mm.
which means that its chain rifle is also +1 burst.
Yeah, that's really nice, and because you don't see a whole lot of double templates in the game anymore, but we've
No.
seen a fair amount in Qapu Khalqi,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, we've seen how wreckers can melt
Mhm.
people with that double chain
Mhm.
rifle. I think it's absolutely
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah. It also means his AP pistol or AP heavy pistol is burst 3.
Yeah.
So the Feuerbach, it's a slightly lower burst at distance,
Mm.
but it keeps the pressure up at pretty much all range bands.
Yeah, I
Whereas
mean,
the AP heavy
yeah.
machine gun is going to be much better at the long range bands, but then kind of has a gap in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Nick. Towards the end of my Qapu Khalqi journey, I was
Mm.
definitely favoring the AP heavy machine gun, just because you did just need that one hit to go through. But I think with the BS attack +1 burst, the Feuerbach might take the crown. What do you think?
I used to run one of each.
Hmm.
So I'd run the AP heavy machine gun as the active,
Hmm.
and then at the end of my turn, kind of swap their positions and have the Feuerbach as the reactive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very cool.
Because they're continuous damage AP heavy machine gun like is definitely a scary arrow,
Hmm.
but like, tags definitely have the ability to go like I will take some damage, but I will save before I burn to the ground.
Hmm.
Um, the APDA continuous damage Feuerbach, um, they do not have that luxury of
Yeah.
assuming.
Yeah. And the better your opponent is, generally the more risk averse they're going to be.
Yeah,
So sticking up that Azrael, you can just make your opponent sort of put it in the too hard or too risky basket. And
exactly.
you might be listening and saying like, 80 points and half of your SWIC. Are you fucking serious? But you got to
Yes,
understand,
absolutely.
in Qapu Khalqi, points, money is no object. Like your points costs are incredibly low. You've got a lot of ways to sidestep SWIC and zero SWIC options.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I back the double Azrael. All right, we might go to my favorite little boy. This is my favorite. This is my favorite child, the Burkhut Aerospace Engineer Regiment. They're the Whip 14 engineers I was alluding to earlier. Min
Mhm.
-3 with BS12 is some of your better shooting. You've got
Mhm.
no wounding cap. Immunity continuous damage, which is a bit of a rare skill. Doesn't come up an incredible amount, but it's nice to have. And then,
Especially on a two
yeah,
boot model. Well, one plus NWI.
yeah, and look, you've
Because
you've got good doctors, so that can go a long way.
well, with that, it just means you can tank a flamethrower arrow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So your profiles have all gone down a little bit. The light rocket launcher PS6 is really the star of the show for me. But with the way the burst bonuses have worked out, you might end up taking two. I quite like the Emarat profile. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
look, I like all the profiles. I'll be frank. Emarats are really good. Just sort of shaking out. If something does, end up breaking into your deployment zone, if you position the Burkut as the first thing they're going to hit after breaking through, the Burkhut's got a good chance to stop that. Heavy Flamethrower +1 burst is really nice, and so is just being able to stick up with a Panzerfaust somewhere. I really like the Burkhut.
The Emerat +1 burst and the Heavy Flamethrower +1 burst have some really nasty forks. So if you round the corner, you have the burst 2. So let's take the Emerat. You have burst 2 Emerat, so going into BTS, or you have a submachine gun, or you have an AP mine.
Yeah.
There's no good response to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, like you mentioned earlier, having the 2 max on the wild card is really important. I can see you slamming, 2 Burkhuts with a Druze killer hacker, maybe setting up a Fairy Dust with Laxmee to give that whole team a tin bot. I could also see you just chucking 2 of these with a Gulam Doctor and really pushing up the field, where you can take an engagement, take a wound, burn them to death, like get healed up by the Gulam, go to the next one, and just keep doing that. Yeah, I love the Burkhut. They're my special boy.
The light rocket launcher, like I like the profile. It did get a slight nerf. So it was previously a light rocket launcher +1 damage.
Yeah.
And now it's a light rocket launcher PS = 6, which means it's only the blast that has increased damage.
Oh, is that a fact?
But that also, yes, because on rocket launchers the blast is one lower.
Yeah.
Hits slightly less, and now they both hit the same strength. They both hit it the same as a solid shot.
I never would have picked that up. That's crazy. That's
also
the Nick
means
eye to detail.
Like, there's basically no reason to fire this thing not in blast mode, unless you're forced to because of a friendly model.
Yeah. But no, I love the Burkhut. I think there's quite a bit you can do with him. But we might move on to the Iguana, who is still terrible, I'm afraid.
Okay, I would say the Iguana is better.
Yeah, 100% it's better.
It is definitely better. There are some interesting things you can do with it with the other upgrades to the faction. Specifically, it brings its own repeater.
Yeah, that's true.
You have Laxmee, so she can channel white noise onto it. That can be your entire answer to the opponent has MSV.
Yeah, no, that's very true. The tick up to ballistics 14 is quite nice, as is the AP on the heavy machine gun. And that does mean, we did talk about decisive gunfighters. The Iguana can be one of those.
Because you're also in a faction that's running MSV smoke shooting, having something like Iguana plus Laxmee, where the Iguana can go up, get in position, Laxmee just drops white noise wherever it is, and it can just clear your opponent's MSV bottles.
Yeah, that's true.
And now you can run the board with your own smoke shooting MSV bottles.
Yeah. I mean, it's... you're tempted to compare it to a Janissary when it comes to shooting, just because you can't get that same effect if you put Laxmee in a link team like that. But the Iguana's very mobile in a way that a Janissary core isn't going to be.
Yes.
I guess I more view it through a Corregidor context, which instantly makes my mind frown. But I think you're right in that it could maybe have a niche in Qapu Khalqi.
Yeah. Think of it not through the Nomad lens. It's the hand-me-downs that QK got on the mercenary market.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, context is always going to be important.
Yeah.
When looking at your units.
The escape system got better.
Don't talk to me about its escape system.
No, okay. And the pilot now keeps AP on their machine gun, gets +1 burst like flamethrower, and AP pistol +1 burst.
I'm so pissed off that the Iguana doesn't get that AP pistol.
The BS-12 is the worst part.
Yeah. But, in Haqqislam, that's sort of average,
Yeah, you're not getting a main battle tag.
No.
But I think there is a place for them in QK in the right list build.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that, and I would walk back my dog shit statement after what you've said. I do think you're right. They do have a place in Qapu Khalqi. What I will say is, like, an Iguana operator, going suppressive on an objective, he's still going to be pretty rough to move. You do have white noise for the AP heavy machine gun. I'm not happy about it, but I'll give him like a C+.
Yep.
All right, we might move on to the Shakush, who I think's, I don't know, a little bit more exciting, but I don't know.
Okay, so
yeah, you take it away.
The Shakush is much better than it was. Like, it was almost there in N4, and it got continuous damage on its heavy machine gun. And that's basically what it needed. It needed just something else to differentiate it from the other profiles in Hawk.
I'm just not.
QK has AP heavy machine guns on models that are half the cost.
Yeah.
So I don't know where it goes in QK.
I don't think it goes in QK, period. I'll just say that right now.
Yeah, like, unless you run out of AVA on Azraels and you're like, but I want more more continuous damage heavy machine guns, and then you go to Shakush. Yeah, it's great. I don't think it has a place in QK because of the Azrael.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree there. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there's much more to say than that. We might just move on to Scarface, because I think you're 100% correct on the money. All right, next up, Scarface. I'm personally a big fan of Scarface. I'm a Scarface tragic. One thing to note, just sort of off the bat, the only linkable option for Scarface is the Alpha loadout, which is the Mach 12 and heavy rocket launcher. But I think Scarface is in a bit of an interesting position because of how the new ancillary rules work. So the ancillary, you pop it out, and it's kind of an infinite range peripheral that activates with you. In N4, you'd really want to be duoing him with Cordelia just to drag around a specialist. That's less necessary now with the turtleneck. I enjoyed Scarface sort of as a very multifaceted unit that could do a lot. In some respect, you're paying double for a worse Azrael with the AP heavy machine gun. But he had a bit of the maneuverability like we talked about with the Iguana. He could mix it up in CC. I actually quite like the Alpha loadout just because of how multi-solvent it is, I guess. But what's your take on Scarface?
He lost his most memorable feature, which is he can no longer berserk out of his tag and punch something.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, losing Joe Scarface is really sad. I will admit that.
All of his profiles went down 6 points, although Cordelia went up a point. So overall, it's a 5-point drop on everything, which is one of the higher ones, I think, especially in tags.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he still competes with a lot of other stuff in
definitely.
QK. Like the AP heavy machine gun, like you said, the Azrael competes with it. Even the Iguana, I think, competes with his AP heavy machine gun.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, he's only BS13 as well.
It's slightly more expensive for +1 ballistic skill.
Yeah.
The HRL, I think, competes with the Hafza and Sekban.
Yeah.
Because they're like the Sekban HRL is the same ballistic skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's 19 points. It's a third of his cost, and you don't have to buy Cordelia.
Yeah, that's true.
The one I think that has a place most in QK, or at least the least overlap, is the AP Spitfire +1 burst.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting take. Usually in other factions, the AP Spitfire +1 burst is the odd one out. But I have used Scarface AP Spitfire in Qapu Khalqi before to quite good effect because, outside of the Burkhut, you don't really have that midfield brawler as a model. You actually really do excel at scalpeling out enemy hackers as well because of your picture access. So yeah, I mean, you can really just scalpel out those hackers and then put some really heavy metal in Scarface going through people. It should also be noted, Berserk has been nerfed, but Berserk +3 on a C, bring that up to CC 25, he's going to be absolutely mauling most things that don't have a CC skill. So yeah, I think you're on the money regarding the AP Spitfire potentially being the big money here. But maybe let's discuss Cordelia, because you did sort of say you have to take Cordelia in sort of a disparaging way, and I think it is disparaging in Qapu Khalqi compared to some of the other factions.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I should make myself clearer. I don't think Qapu Khalqi likes Cordelia as much as the other factions, where because of your slots cost, it is more of a drawback than a bonus like it can be in some other factions. That's more clear.
Yes. She definitely has competition even from the basic line infantry engineer. She's 3 points more expensive, 1 point less of whip, and picks up min -3.
Yeah, and she used to be BS 12 as well, so she was she was actually really solid to run up duoed with Scarface, because say the heavy machine gun profile, he doesn't actually have a flamethrower. Like, he doesn't have a flamethrower on any of his profiles. So Cordelia was actually, pretty good to mix it up in that 16-inch range band. But I'm genuinely really sad that she lost that capability. She did pick up a boarding pistol and paramines, which is nice to drag around with Scarface, just putting out paramines occasionally. But I think for me the Burkhut is the real killer, just having such a good engineer that can do so many things. And with the turtleneck, I think Cordelia is in a bit of a rough spot in Qapu Khalqi, but I still think Scarface has a niche, and he is worth taking in some lists. All right, we might go to the Triphammer next, and I've always said these guys are quite bad, but Ivory recently did really well running a Triphammer in his Druze list at CanCon.
Yes, I got to play into it. Although it pretty much hid most of the battle because I had better weapons than it looking at it, and then at the end it poked its head out and killed one of my HVTs.
Sick.
It spent the entire game buddied up against a flashbot because I had multiple total controls and a repeater that he couldn't get away from it. So it just sat there and I'm going to touch a model so that if you hack me, I will at least not be free to walk around.
Yeah. Well, the way Ivory explained the Triphammer to me is, you scalpel out those hacking pieces like you would in Druze, where you have that same capability to do so, and then just sort of run it as a super heavy infantry that just runs in with one of the heavy shotgun profiles, or even the AP Spitfire flamethrower, and just does as much damage and just does not care as it takes wounds, and just burns out and dies after doing maximum damage.
I think in QK, the AP Spitfire doesn't really have a place because you've got both the Shakush and Scarface. For just a little bit more that are just better,
infinitely better
profiles to put on it or put it on.
Yeah, I mean, I still find it hard to imagine fielding a BTS 3 tag. That's insane to me.
I think the profile that has the most viability in QK is the Zero Swick Heavy Shotgun HRL Panzerfaust. It's Zero Swick for Heavy Rocket Launcher. It's only 48 points. And you do exactly what you described. You clear the battlefield because you can, QK, kind of like Druze, can really go out there and just scalpel out every hacker on the board. And then you have a super heavy infantry who goes and doesn't stop until it falls down.
Yeah. I mean, let's say your back's really pushed. You've had your gun pieces shot out. If you've got Laxmee around, white noising a Panzerfaust or a heavy rocket launcher, even though it's only burst 2, it's not a bad last ditch. And, sometimes you do just need to see what lines you have available to win the game and take them, no matter how bad they are.
You do also have... Yes, you've got the turtleneck, so you can also pop off a specialist, go do something as you walk a battlefield. You have an option that I believe is only available in QK. You can duo them.
Yeah, that's true. You can genuinely duo them. And it's probably not completely awful.
That, honestly, the heavy shotgun, heavy rocket launcher, 48 points. It's 96 points and 0 swick for 2 of them.
You could do it. You absolutely
could do it. it would be some combination of scary and your opponent won't stop laughing at you, but I'll give it a try. Who knows?
Yeah, no, on it. Usually I would just kick you from the Discord call for saying something like that. But you know what? Let him cook. Any viewers, please do that and please report. I really want to just yeah, that sounds hilarious. All right, might move on to the Rafiq,
Yep.
who hasn't really changed much. Unfortunately, it didn't get the a lot of the sensor bots picked up that attack-aware profile. The Rafiq didn't
Mm-hmm.
really pick one up. The Red Fury's always been a bit of a favorite. Unfortunately, it doesn't link incredibly well, having to go into the Qapu Khalqi fire teams. Maybe if you took like a really cheap Sekban Doctor, but I think there's probably better things to do with your points and slots. What's your take on the
I think
Rafiq in QK?
it's better just run it as solo because
Yeah.
it's 6 points. The one change I did note, the Red Fury lost triangulated fire,
Mm.
which,
Is that something you care about?
um, you know, it doesn't come up often, but when it
mm.
does come up, it's really good.
Mm.
It was probably one of the best triangulated fire weapons in the game.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, when I played Varuna, the triangulated fire uh, on the Zulu Cobras, that really got me out of a couple tough spots. And kind of like I said with the Triphammer, you got to be aware of your lines, and the triangulated fire just gives you another line that you can potentially exploit if things go bad.
Yep.
Also, also another recipient of Laxmee Go Burr, it carries its own
Hmm.
repeater like the
Yes.
Iggy, and you can
Good point.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's fine. I just think it suffers from not being in the best environment, uh, where QK is kind of has different things it wants to do. Maybe
Yes. Yep.
very cheap in terms of a Swick and gun piece, though.
Hmm.
I will give it that. All right, next up the Shehab remotes, your total reaction bots. The big
Yep.
change here is you get the Thunderbolt +1 burst option for 18 points and 0 Swick. Have you come
They're
up against
beautiful.
these Thunderbolts much?
Uh, so currently I'm playing mostly Onyx.
Mm.
Um, I took the Thunderbolt version of the Q drone once because I needed 5 points. I have not played the HMG Thunderbolt since, or the HMG TR bot since then.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think
It is,
it's one of the most defining pieces of N5 period, I think.
yes, it is just, it is flat up better.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
because the difference between burst 3 and burst 4 in ARO, when your goal is not to damage, it's to delay.
And
So
that
that
zero's
said,
range band as well. Like you can just
the
jam it
fact that
so far
it,
back in your DZ and just make some
yes,
problems.
yes, that one of the reasons that it stood out so much to me when I played it, um, it basically 50-50'd a line trooper linked sniper
Mm.
from their good range bands.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly good. The one thing I would really like to note with QK as
Mm.
well is you have AVA2, and
Yes.
running two of these things is actually really manageable and actually quite good. Uh,
especially
yeah.
especially with the Thunderbolt profile.
Oh yeah,
36
sorry, yeah, with the
points
Thunderbolt profile, I should clarify. Yeah.
for two TR bots that basically don't get outranged by anything unless you're shooting them from over 48 inches away.
Mm. Yeah,
Uh,
it's pretty astounding. And with you've got Burkhuts who very casually link in with other stuff, just happen to be engineers. You can set up good defensive positions where, sure they'll get shot down your opponent's active, but as you roll out, you can very easily pick them back up.
this is so the AVA2 on these is one of the reasons that I would be tempted to take engineers other than Burkhuts. So
Yeah.
if you're taking Scarface, take Cordelia,
Mm.
give her two Nazmats, she can camp out of the back, toss up some paramines to take care of your DZ defense, and have a Nazmat on each Shehab.
Yeah,
If they
yeah,
go down, she just brings them back up. She doesn't have to go there.
yeah. I mean, I could even
Similarly,
see sort of pushing that to its limit then taking a
Hmm.
Rafiq, Red Fury, and an Evo hacker who can help your
Hmm.
Yanyans or whatever else jump, put out some marksmanship where it needs. Could
Yes.
could be a pretty spicy way to build QK.
Yes. Absolutely.
All right, might move on to I can't pronounce that, but uh, they've picked up the missile launcher +1 burst profile. Uh, I know some other
That loses.
armies, yeah, that loses guided.
That loses guided.
Yeah, I've seen some armies like Invincible Armies sort of enjoy these guys. They don't link, which I think is a real killer to taking them in QK.
I
And
think the
you
link
also want
kills
the
the
missile
first
launcher.
profile.
Yeah, yeah. But you do really like guided missiles in QK. You've
Hmm.
got great hackers for active spotlighting. You've got great pitchers. And, at the end of the day, there are some issues QK can't always solve shooting or gun-wise. Uh, so having it as a tool to, deal with things that you can't, or maybe get a bit of extra reach, quite good. Um, yeah, I tended to take a missile launcher in most of my QK lists, and you
Hmm.
didn't necessarily feel the swig squeeze as much as you would in a nomad list as well, because you do have those zero swig options. So I'm a
Yeah.
big fan. All right, Fanus, AVA3 Fanus. I mean, fantastic. Not much you can really say.
Yep. Similar to Rama, QK lists start with putting 3 Fidus in it and then removing them as you need the slots.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, look, Flash Pulse has got a bit worse. At the same time, the way immunity changed on a lot of units, the Flash Pulse got more valuable. So yeah,
Hmm.
like Nick said, eat your veggies, start with your 3 Fanus, go from there.
Uh, this is also your deployment zone repeater net
Mm,
because 3 Fidus can cover basically your entire DZ in a repeater net, which
yeah,
means that if you're going second, you already have your deployment zone covered against any type of parachutist or heavy infantry or anything that wants to come
mm.
in.
And I think generally we're seeing heavy infantry become more popular due to the
Hmm.
points drop and you having to take less of them to get Fireteam effects that really
Yeah.
push out your power. So yeah, I
Hmm.
think I remember playing military orders into your Fanus remotes and just realizing, oh, I can't actually cross that deployment zone
Yes.
line.
Yeah.
All right, Nazmats stayed the same. They're fine. Whatever, you'll take them
Yep.
when you need them. Uh, yeah, and then Evo hackers, uh, baggage. Yeah, you'll take them when you need them. Baggage has gotten a
Uh,
lot better.
the
Uh,
TR bot got worse. The
oh
TR baggage bot got worse
no.
uh, because I think it went down 2 points though
Yeah.
because it was rifle light shotgun. Previously,
Oh
it was
yeah,
a
that's
TR
true.
bot that could lay
Yeah.
templates.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I never took the TR bot rifle light shotgun. If I had like points for upgrading things, I usually had better things to spend it on.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah,
I don't think it has a place now because of the Thunderbolt.
yeah. No, that's a very fair assessment actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, as a zero swig TR option,
Yep,
that's
two
cool.
points
But
more, and you've got the Thunderbolt.
yeah, and you've got the goat. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, we'll move on now to the Al Hawa, who are really your only midfield unit, but they do a
Mhm.
pretty good job of it. So
Oh,
if I'm gonna be stuck with one midfield unit, I'll take the Al Hawa any day of the week.
yes.
The mine layer with submachine gun and grenade launcher has always been incredibly cheap and incredibly funny to do coordinated surprise grenade launches. But look, the killer hacker is fantastic. Getting a surprise attack killer hacker. Same with the forward observer, or even the regular hacker getting those surprise attack spotlights.
Mhm.
There's a lot you
Yep.
can do with the Al Hawa.
Yeah. They did get a nice little side grade, I guess.
Mm.
The previously had a marksman or a mine layer sniper,
Mm.
and that's been changed to a mine layer shock marksman rifle,
Yeah, I think that came with
which
the
is
reinforcements changes.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but yeah, still very light. Mm.
very good change because now you don't have that awkwardness of I'm infiltrating, but I have a weapon that wants to like shoot halfway across the board.
Yeah, especially when you've got mines as well, which
Mhm.
you want to be in that midfield. Uh,
Yeah.
the hacking device and the killer hacking device also picking up cyber mines. That's
Hmm.
really nice. Cyber mines have been changed, where now they inflict a paras. Oh no, it's not a para.
Stun.
Yeah, a stun save on non-hackable targets. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, look, Whip 14 specialists slapping
Mhm.
buttons like it's nobody's business with a little bit of extra spice in there. Absolutely love
And
them.
every specialist comes with decharges.
Yeah, yeah. Our new Qapu Khalqi deal. Get a specialist, get
Yeah.
decharges. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also picked up silenced pistols. Have you come across or used silenced pistols yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Uh, I don't think in my current armies, I don't have access to them,
Yeah.
and I don't think anyone's gotten close enough to use them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been in a similar position. The armies I've been mostly playing don't really have good silenced pistol options, and I haven't
Yeah.
really seen them across the table either.
Mhm.
All right, and now to the last hero of the faction, the Yan Yans, who picked up super jump jet propulsion.
Oh,
Insanity,
yeah.
absolute insanity. And also, like Fizz 14, your smoke grenades, you're no longer getting a +3 range band. So Fizz 14 smoke is, on the upper echelon of unlinked smoke.
I think it's, with the exception of maybe a character,
Mm,
it's the pinnacle of unlinked smoke.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would be jamming 2 to 3 of these guys in most of my lists
Hmm.
just with the way I played. Like you said, you can start them ground deployed, and they're
Yeah.
fantastic war bands. So efficient for what they do. Uh, Chain rifle, smoke grenades, heavy pistol. It's just a great little loadout. You can pick up the DACC weapon with CC22. Booty, just taking the AP CC weapon. Booty can be nice because you can pick up a better CC weapon, which
Hmm.
a lot of the times goes pretty wasted on other
Hmm.
units. And I guess a lot of the stuff you pick up from the booty chart, like an adhesive launcher rifle, that other units might be pissed off about. The Yan Yan's usually pretty happy about it, especially if he's starting air deployed.
Hmm.
Love the Yan Yan.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you want to go for the DACCW if you've got the
Mm.
point.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely
yeah,
if you can.
for
Yeah.
most usages, the AP is fine because you're not really using them for close combat.
Mm. No, not really. I mean, they can run into close combat to put a nice fork with the chain rifle
Yep.
if you've airdropped something. But yeah, uh,
Hmm.
I would regularly run 3 of these guys starting in the air. They could drop
Hmm.
down. Uh, and yeah, any ones that missed, they just became your deployment zone warbands. So I
Hmm.
think I think Yan Yans are honestly at their best in Qapu Khalqi. Maybe aside from Oban, I haven't
Yeah.
really seen how they've
'Cause-
impacted there. But
Well,
yeah,
because now with super jump jet propulsion, if they fail their combat jump, they're still 6/6.
yeah, yeah, they're crazy. They're absolutely
They will
crazy.
get back in the fight quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean they're in terms of units that miss the combat drop, they're maybe the unit that's most useful when they failed. It just changes what role they play, and it's still a
Yeah.
role that's equally as valuable.
Mhm.
See, I usually start my lists with, you know, 3 Fanu spots and 2 Yan Yans, and then go from
Hmm.
there. Is how I would
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Yeesh.
Stay back.
So this is your only new unit for Qapu Khalqi, and it's not good. It's not good at all. So it's one of the aerial ones, which means it doesn't count as being in base contact with stuff, uh, which means it can't be CC'd, so that 0 CC stat isn't so weird. Move 8-2, but it's got super jump and jump 8, so really it's
Hmm.
moving 16 a turn, which is really fantastic, and I have seen vehicles being put to really good use. BS12, not great. 3 structure is really nice, that's more than most bikes. But your issue is you've got no cover, you've got albedo 6, dodge -3, and that's it.
Oh, you're not getting to your favorite one yet.
I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to talk
It's
about it.
it's structure 3, but has transmutation escape system 2.
Ah!
Um, Now, when the operator pops out,
He's a better
they
he's a
keep
better
albedo and
gunfighter
they
than the
keep the
actual
Spitfire.
unit. Yeah.
And they keep their BS-12.
And they get a boarding pistol.
They're also still Armor 3 BTS-3.
Yeah, like the operator is just better than the aero unit. It's crazy.
I'm sure someone will find a use for them at some point. Like, I'm thinking just like zoom up the board edge and do lateral Spitfire shots until you crash, and then you've got a model that's more difficult to remove. But all the other aero units have mimetism of some degree, and this has
or
Albedo.
BS-3. Yeah, something that's much more applicable, but especially when you've picked up white noise as well. Like
we've got Laxmee, we've got white noise. We don't really need a specialized anti-visor unit.
No, absolutely not.
Especially when it's questionable use if it's not against visors.
Look, I've got a specialized anti-visor unit, and it's called a Janissary with white noise on him.
Yep.
Yeah, so no, I think crash and burn for the Zabak era unit, unfortunately.
Yeah, even like dodge -3, but they're Fizz 12.
Yeah, not good at all.
And you're with structure 3, you're almost better just moving again and accepting wounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. All right, well that wraps up the list of Qapu Khalqi units. What are your thoughts on Qapu Khalqi going into N5?
I think they have new life in them. They are definitely viable, and the tools they have available mesh up better because you can take enough of them to cover each other.
Yeah, no, I mean, my first impression on Qapu Khalqi is I think they can go pretty massive in N5. They've gained the tools they really need to succeed, along with, a bit more special spice and link team changes that I think really overall have benefited them. I mean, look, like I said, I was higher on Qapu Khalqi in N4 than most people. I think they're, C tier instead of D tier. I think Qapu Khalqi is sitting at a pretty solid, maybe C plus, now with all the new tools. And what really appeals to me, I think there's so many creative and cool ways and really viable ways you can build your Qapu Khalqi lists with how flexible everything is. If someone said, hey, I'm just going to play QK for the next 2 years, I think there would still be more they could do at the end of that. It just seems so much space to explore.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, because they have one of the better complete Vismod packages.
For sure.
Where they can do a BS-14 linked gunfighter in white noise, but they can also smoke shoot at BS-12. So,
I mean, I think
that's not a combo most armies get access to.
No, I mean, really, when you're looking at that, it's basically just nomads that gets that kind of visibility, shooting control, and more so Corregidor and Tunguska. But yeah, I agree that QK is definitely in with the big dogs in terms of visibility control and shooting with that.
Yeah.
All right, well, Nick, thank you so much for your time and coming on. I think I mentioned it at the start, but you're one of the beautiful hosts of Loss of Lieutenant.
Yes.
I understand you guys just did a really cool interview with Hector, who won CanCon.
We did. I was out Friday night, and so I haven't heard the episode yet. So, yes. Yeah, we've got the episode that just came out with Hector's winner's interview. Just before that, we have our own experiences at CanCon and how we see the meta in general going.
Yeah, and you reviewed the lists of the top 10 during that episode as well, which I think is super valuable. No matter what faction you're playing, it's always important to understand what else is out there, how the meta is shaping in list building. And look, if your faction's in the top 10, there's some great examples of what you can get into there.
Yeah. On top of that, we have an AMA coming up soon, and we've just put out the announcement on that, I believe, yesterday.
Very cool.
So if you want to add questions to that upcoming episode, head over to our Discord. There's a subsection there just for that. or toss it on our Facebook, or wherever else you would normally contact us.
Yeah, and you can find Lost of Lieutenant podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, or even right here on YouTube. So make sure to check them out.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, Nick. It was a blast.
Thanks.
All right, and big thanks to you, the viewer. Stay tuned for more faction focuses and some other stuff coming up soon. And subscribe. Thank you. Bye-bye.